Hi, my name is Kelsey. I'm a student physical therapist. Do you mind if this is recorded for educational purposes?
That's fine.
Okay, so I do have on latex-free gloves since I know that you do have a latex allergy. I'm going to go ahead and take a few measurements of this wound that you have on your right leg. And first, I'm going to go ahead and start with the pulse and check the pulses that you have. Make sure that you're getting good blood flow to the area. So I'm just trying to find the pulse here. Good, so I would give that a 2+ pulse there for the tibialis posterior. As well as a 2+ pulse for the dorsalis pedis. I'm just going to compare the pulses to the other leg. Good, so I would give that a 2+ pulse there. As well as here for the dorsalis pedis, that would be a 2+ as well. So first I'm going to go ahead and measure the distance from the medial malleolus to the wound and see how far above that is. So let's measure here and good. So that would be 4.5 centimeters away from the superior to the medial malleolus, and I started from the medial part of the medial malleolus. Now I'm going to go ahead and measure the size of the wound. So for this, I'm going to use the clock method. So this being up here being 12 o'clock, and then down here being 6 o'clock, and then you have across it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start here from the head of it. So that would be 4 centimeters in length, and let me just check the width. And that would be 3 centimeters width. And then I would go ahead and check the depth. So for the depth, I would want to go into the central area of the wound and push down into it. And so I'll go ahead and measure the depth there, and that would be 0.5 centimeters there for the depth of the wound. And then I would want to go ahead and take a look at the actual wound inside and how it looks. So for this, I see that it's at least 70% red tissue or granulation tissue. So that's good because it's getting good blood flow and it is healing. But there is about 30% of yellow tissue in here, so that tissue would need to be removed from that area in order for it to heal properly. As for the drainage of the wound, there is minimal drainage, and it's sort of a serous drainage where it's just yellow and thin. And as for the wound odor, I would just waft to smell the odor, but I'm not getting any type of smell from this wound here. As for the skin around the wound, it seems pretty intact. It's not impaired much at all. There is a little bit of hemosiderin staining out on this side, but that should, it seems to be clearing up for the most part. And as for the wound edges that we have for the wound, I would say that it is pretty distinct and it's attached. There's no epibole formation or any lifting of the wound. And and then pretty much there's some granulation tissue growing around here. You could see that it's healing pretty nicely on the outsides. And then I will also check for the skin color around the wound, and it seems pretty, besides the hemosiderin staining, it seems pretty intact and not really impaired there. And as for the skin as well, I know I already touched on it, but I don't see any dryness. He does have hair on his legs, and there's no like cellulitis or anything extra going on here. It looks pretty normal compared to the normal leg besides the wound that we have. I also want to check for edema. Let me face that back. So in this area, I'm just going to check around the wound. I'm going to hold for 5 seconds. There's no pitting after that one. No pitting there as well. No pitting there. And no pitting there as well. So there's no edema. I can check, you know, feeling around for the other, on the other leg, and seems pretty normal compared to the other leg. As for temperature, I'm going to go ahead and check with the dorsum of my hand. And it's just, I'm going to check the other leg just to make sure that this is the normal temperature. So it seems pretty normal. His leg feels pretty cool to me, but so it doesn't indicate any type of inflammation going on there. So again, for this wound, I would it indicates somewhat of a stage 2 venous ulcer, and it seems like it is in the healing process besides the yellow tissue that we have there. So for that, we would just want to try and remove that or treat it with some type of antimicrobial cream. And then for otherwise, you know, before I were to go into any type of treatment, I would want to get an ABI from him and consider compression and bandaging the wound up and everything. So otherwise, that's pretty... Oh, one thing I did forget to mention is the tunneling. There is no tunneling in this wound, so I just forgot to mention that. But otherwise, everything else seems pretty good. Wound seems to be healing, and that pretty much concludes the wound examination.